is where MAGA comes to talk. I'm heading to the radio station. And out of all the days of the week to go to the radio station, I picked the worst one. It is 50 degrees in sunny South Florida, which is as cold as it freaking gets for us. It doesn't get much colder than this. Oh, my goodness. Oh, and I have no gas in my car, so I got to stop and get gas. Hopefully, I can make it to the gas station. Man, oh, man, it's cold. It's freezing. I gotta put my windows down to see what's going on. Oh my gosh, that wind is cold. I just have to put the windows down to clean them off so I can see them. Oh man. All right. Dark MAGA mode activated. I gotta stop and get gas. And you all can join me. So what I'm gonna open with today, there's a few things I'm gonna talk about today. And it is on, remember it's Friday. That means it's open phones, open MAGA mic Friday on the program. Anything and everything on your mind's fair game to call in about today. I'm gonna open up with the Trump approval rating at 76%, which is amazing. And I'm going to recap something I talked about on my podcast last night, and I got a ton of messages about it on both sides, but a lot of people pissed off. And I was talking last night about the very bad decision that Charlie Kirk made going on Gavin Newsom's podcast. It was bad news, and I'm really aggravated that he did it. And a lot of people are pissed off at me for criticizing Charlie Kirk. I love Charlie Kirk, so I'm gonna recap that and maybe explain it again. I'm not gonna do it now. I'm gonna do it on the show at 6. But Charlie Kirk made a big mistake, and I'm not happy about it. Now, if you're new to my program, my name is Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure that you subscribe. And hopefully I have enough gas to make it to the gas station, because it's not telling me I have 1 mile or 2 miles. So I'm keeping the heat off, even though it's freezing here in Florida right now. This could serve as much gas. If I run out of gas, I'll call AAA, I guess. I've never run out of gas. I've come close to it. My other car will tell me 1 mile left. This one, no. All right, so let's go slow and no heat. I'm going very slow. You know what the left on television don't understand is how popular Trump is. They live in this very self-absorbed bubble where everybody hates Trump, and they just don't get it. Trump is loved, and they just can't admit. For them to admit it, in the mainstream media, would be to admit that for the last 10 years they've been wrong about everything. A lot of cars on the road. It's 4:38 a.m. here on the East Coast. It's my first time at the radio station in a week. I haven't gone up there since last Thursday or Friday. And I don't really have to go there today, but I thought I would go. Pop my head in the radio station, and I do have some things to do closer to the radio station than to my house afterwards, but if I would have known it was 50 degrees, I probably would have used my studio at home. 50 degrees is the dead of winter. We don't want to see it get colder than this in South Florida. But, Nicole Wallace and Rachel Maddow did long-term permanent damage to themselves by attacking that little boy with brain cancer. They really did. And it's bad what they said to a little boy who survived brain cancer, but it also revealed the type of people they really are. And that's where they did their most damage. All right. I'm going to put the phone down while I get the gas pump going. And then I'll be back because I'm charging my phone. I don't want to unplug it. I'll be right back. Talk amongst yourselves. This gas pump is so damn slow, it's driving me nuts. I am not going to fill my car up here. It'll take 2 days. Why is he? What, am I not a person? You got to talk to others about it. You can't ask me. I'm not mad at Charlie Kirk, but Charlie Kirk has done two things that are not that great. And the second one was yesterday with Gavin Newsom. And what he's doing is bad news. After I get gas, I'll explain it to you. Then I'm going to talk about it and take calls about it on the radio this morning. You're not going to impeach a Supreme Court judge because they ruled in a way that we think is wrong. It's just not good. You got to be realistic. Oh my gosh. I could go drill for the oil and refine it faster than this. All right. Oh, my goodness. Oh, there we go. This is not my normal gas station. No, I don't want a car wash. Oh, my gosh. So let me explain what Charlie did, because it's important to talk about. So he did two things. The second one was yesterday. He was on the first episode of Gavin Newsom's podcast. I'm going to go through all this on the air, so you guys are getting a sneak peek of this now in the pre-show. But the Democrats are doomed with their wackadoodle positions. Make no mistake about that, okay? Their woke positions, in particular the trans athlete issue. 99% of Americans think that's nuts. I know they say it's an 80-20 issue. That's just a catchphrase. 99% of Americans know that's nuts. And what Charlie Kirk did yesterday with Gavin Newsom was a couple of things. One, he legitimized this insane nutcase by sitting down and having a discussion with him. But that's not the main thing. The big takeaway, if you watch the news coverage of the Gavin Newsom interview with Charlie Kirk. And remember, Charlie was on Gavin's show. Gavin was not a guest on Charlie Kirk's podcast. Charlie Kirk was the first guest on Gavin Newsom's new podcast. And Gavin Newsom is using the podcast as a launch for his presidential campaign. You know, like Obama went in front of the State House in Illinois to make his announcement. President Trump came down the escalator to make his announcement. Gavin Newsom's announcement that he's running for president was the launch of his podcast, and Charlie Kirk was his first guest. And Gavin Newsom's strategy is very similar to the strategy that President Clinton had in 1996. In 1996, when President Clinton ran for re-election, the Republicans were very, very popular at the time. Newt Gingrich and the Contract for America. And that won the Republican control of both houses of Congress in 1994. So what Bill Clinton did was, because the Republican positions were so popular, when he ran against Bob Dole for re-election, he adopted all of the Republican positions as his own. The most controversial at the time was welfare to work, which seems minor today, but it was a big deal back then. So what Gavin Newsom is doing is a similar thing. First, he's told himself Trump won because of the podcast influence. So the Democrats are trying to get into the podcast space. And Charlie Kirk is like the number one most influential MAGA podcaster. I'm number 2, of course. But so Charlie Kirk gave Gavin legitimacy on the launch of a presidential campaign. That's one thing he did with Gavin. Second thing he did, if you noticed, what's the big story out of that interview? What's coming out of that? The big story that was trending, the number one trend on X yesterday, and they're still talking about it today. The number one thing from the Gavin Newsom interview with Charlie Kirk. It's that Gavin Newsom made a pivot on the trans athletes in sports issue. The Democrats, like with Bill Clinton in 96, want to drop all these wackadoodle woke things because they know they're unelectable with them. So they're lying about their positions. So Charlie Kirk allowed Gavin Newsom to use him to make a switch on trans athletes, which is the beginning of his metamorphosis into a rational-minded conservative or Democrat, is what Gavin's goal is. So it was a disaster for Charlie Kirk to do that. He helped Gavin Newsom. Now that doesn't mean Gavin Newsom is running for president. Now that doesn't mean Gavin Newsom's going to get the nomination or even win in 4 years. But if he does, I'll be holding Charlie Kirk responsible in 4 years, because yesterday he did that. So I'm going to get into that. I'm going to talk about that on the radio when I go on at 6. So you guys are getting a preview. And then the second thing that Charlie Kirk did, which was a couple weeks ago, that really pissed me off, is he had that young Turk guy speaking at his group. That Cenk Uygur, whatever the hell his name is. So why is he hanging out with Gavin Newsom and the young Turk? These are not reasonable people. They're radical leftists, and we don't want them anywhere near our movement, and we don't want to give them the credibility and the clout from our people. So those are big mistakes, man. Big mistakes. But the main one I'm going to talk about today is what he did with Gavin Newsom. Now, I think he did it for a couple reasons. And I'm a big fan of Charlie Kirk's. I mean, you know, this is not criticism as much as it is a critique. If I don't like someone, I'll tell you, okay, and I'll be very clear about it. And there's not many people I like. I like Charlie Kirk, and I have a great amount of respect for him and what he's done. And he played a large role in the re-election of the president. But he's under tremendous pressure with his organization financially. And with that comes clout chasing and other things like it, which is kind of what that was yesterday. So, and a lot of people messaged me through the night about this with Charlie Kirk, and I thought I explained it pretty clearly on my podcast, but people didn't want to hear it, so I'm going to go over that again on the radio this morning at 6, because I think it's important. I think it's very important. That gas pump was so slow. I got half a tank of gas. I couldn't wait. I'm running a little late to be driving to the radio station too, so you know, I don't have time, because it's about an hour to get there, and I got to set up everything. It takes a few minutes. So by the time I get in place, it'll almost be airtime. If I ever get stopped by a light, I'll look at the chat. But I'm curious if you guys agree with me about what Charlie Kirk did with Gavin Newsom, meaning that he allowed Charlie Kirk allowed Gavin Newsom to make that pivot on the trans issue, lie. And that's what everyone's talking about now. So I really think it was a mistake. I really do. And I just hope he doesn't continue to do that. I'll see if someone not as close to the president or not as famous as Charlie Kirk went on Gavin Newsom, it wouldn't be the same deal. Because of Charlie Kirk's position, those things are a mistake. But we all make mistakes, right? All we can do is reflect on them and not make them again, or at least try not to make them again. I can't believe how cold it is in Florida. 50 degrees is freezing. That's really for us in South Florida. So that's one thing I'm going to talk about today. I'm also going to talk about the president's 76% approval rating, which is amazing. What a day. Isn't it not amazing that Trump is the president again? I'm so, I love that he is doing these executive order signings in the Oval Office and then turning them into press conferences. Because I remember in the first term, we didn't see him speak from the Oval Office, really. And now he does it almost every day. It's great. And I'm going to play this clip of Putin. It's translated. Putin, he had a very good response to France. You know, France said that they're willing to put troops on the ground to back up Ukraine. And Putin said that France, they want to relive the days of Napoleon, but they must have forgotten how that ended, or something along those lines. He said it was pretty funny. I tell you, these people, they just want to prolong this war with Ukraine. They just can't let it go. I guess Europe doesn't know what to do with itself if it's not in a world war. I guess it's their desperate attempt at relevance. You know, all these European countries want to think that NATO is a threat, that Putin wants Russia, or Putin wants to take over Europe. Nobody wants Europe, all right? Nobody wants Europe, guys. I'm sorry to tell you. The days I make the drive to the radio station, I know, I'm like, oh man. I'd forgotten how far it is because I'd gotten used to it. But it's far. Too far to go to every day. And if you're new, make sure you guys subscribe. And if you'd like to support my content, always go to mypillow.com, use my promo code Kane at checkout, Kane, huge savings, site-wide. I knew it was going to be cold this morning, but not this cold. Someday. Oh, boy. So those are the big issues. I got a lot of other things I'm going to bring up, but those are the big ones. And it's open phones today. You can call in about any and everything on your mind on Friday's show. I'm looking forward to our cruise. The countdown has begun. I mean, we're just a couple weeks away. The 29th we leave. This weekend, I got to start buying some things for the cruise. I got to buy some, got to buy a new pair of shoes, maybe a couple new shirts. You know, I don't dress up too much except when I go on the cruise or the rare special occasions that I go to. So. I got to get all my fancy clothes out and get them dry cleaned. And with this 25 pounds I've lost, I don't know. I might have to, you know, I'd forgotten I had an advertiser a few years ago that had this hook you put in your pants to make them fit. So I don't know if I still have that. I might. So I might not have to get my pants altered yet. I've lost 25 pounds, so I'm in shock. I told my wife yesterday, because I'd kept it a secret from her, how much I weighed, because I didn't know. What happened is I went to Game Day Men's Health, and they, you know, they have every few weeks they do a little bit of a physical and everything, and they weighed me, and I couldn't believe how much I weighed. So when I started the weight loss secret, that's when I did it. So so when I told the doctor 25 pounds, he said, how much do you want to lose? I said 25 pounds. He says, by when? I said, by our cruise. We leave on the 29th. He said, that's not a problem. And 25 pounds, I didn't think I could lose 25 pounds, period, over any period of time. So I kind of set the goal high, and I did it almost a month before my deadline. So I was talking to his office yesterday, and they were asking me, what am I going to do? Am I going to keep I said, I don't know. I'm thinking about it over the weekend. I think I'm going to keep losing. Maybe. I'll see. I haven't decided yet. But I do know that since I lost 25 pounds, I got a hell of a lot more energy. I feel a lot better. A lot better. And it's like natural. It's amazing. I think Mike's going to be surprised. I mean, I didn't tell anybody I'm coming up today. They don't know I'm coming, so. I cannot believe how many cars are on the road. It's just turning 5 a.m. And the roads are packed. I mean, really busy. This is the undercover cop that put the sirens on for me with a little lead foot a few weeks back. It's a very good unmarked car, I gotta tell you. It's not even a car, it's a truck. I wouldn't even believe he was a cop if I didn't see the, because he's not in uniform, but he's got the laptop mounted on his dashboard. Plus he's got a siren and a badge, but I don't really agree with unmarked vehicles pulling people over. Unless there's an emergency, right? Like if the person is risking people's lives or a fugitive. But this isn't the car that he put the siren on for. That was my other car. So I guess I'm the one undercover today. But I'm going the speed limit. Take a quick look at the chat. The rich are winning. What are they winning at? I mean, you know. Canada's just going to get creamed. You know, I was watching CNN it's yesterday, and you know, Trump gave a break on some of the tariffs from Canada until April 2nd. And he's causing instability, and he's indecision, he doesn't know what Trump did was give a window for negotiations between Mexico and Canada before they actually go into effect. But that Trump derangement syndrome, they just can't see it. You know? They can't see it. And you know what? They never will. But they have so few viewers. You know, to go on the air like they're doing with such a small audience and everybody knows it, that's rough. You know, I've worked at radio stations that you had no listeners. And not me on the air, because I've always had listeners. I've been blessed. But I've worked at radio stations as a board op that had no listeners, and it's awful for the people on the air. I've not been on the air at any place like that, but I worked behind the scenes, and it's a joke. It's sad. It's really sad. It's difficult because they know, and I know there's people on the air in this market that I know, and I'll listen to them sometimes, and they not only do they have no listeners, they know it, and it affects their performance. Because they know they have no one listening. It would affect mine. I knew a guy, he was a jerk. He started doing this show in the middle of the day on this radio station in Fort Lauderdale. I didn't even know about it. And he called me. And he wanted to come on as a guest with me on a different radio station. And I was like, well, I don't know about that. You know, I didn't really care for the guy too much anyway. He, you know, and I talked to him. He's like, well, he said, I started doing this show. I'm just doing a test run here, and the audience, they got to find me. Well, he didn't have much of an audience before, but they never found him, and it didn't last. But he was just so depressed. It was for him to pick up the phone and call me and try to get publicity, because he was a jerk to me. He was very nasty to me. I'm nice to everybody, you know, in the business. Which might surprise people. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't. I'm nice to everybody in the business. I'm not, you know, because I know what it takes. I know how much hard work it is to do a show. I know. So, you know, and it's so funny. Like there's our weekend guy at the radio stations I'm on now, True Oldies. I was talking to Mike. I said, you know, our weekend guy, Al Knight and I have known each other we worked at a radio station together 33 years ago. 33 years ago, maybe 34, because I can't remember if it was 91 or 92. It's been so long. So we've known each other for 33, 34 years ago. Not really, and I wouldn't say we didn't buddy around or anything, but we worked together that long ago. And here we are again, all these years later. Who would have thought? So you always want to be nice, because you never know. It's a small family. You never know who you're going to be working with. It pays to be nice to people. I'll tell you that. It sure does. I put up a video last night on my other channel about my coffee addiction, my Main Street Moments channel, if you guys want to check that out. And I reveal how much I spend on coffee every month and over the course of a year, and it's enough to get me off of it. I'm going to start weaning myself off next week. But I'm going to do it very slowly. I got contacted from a lot of nice listeners yesterday about my coffee addiction, and I got a lot of advice and tips. Some of it was strange, but some people gave me some really good advice on getting off of my coffee addiction. And I'm going to incorporate one of them starting next week. I might start over the weekend. I might start tomorrow. Oh, car broken down here. That sucks. If you don't have AAA, you got to get AAA. I have AAA. I have it with my daughter in California. I just renewed her AAA. Well, she's, you know, we're on the same plan. You know? AAA should advertise with me. They are the best. I have it on, you know, and I added my MAGA scooter, the Vespa. And, you know, the Vespa, sometimes you got to get them tuned up, so I could just have it towed at no charge to Vespa. And then I don't have to ride there to get it, you know. But you use it once, it pays for itself. Oh, my goodness. Although, a friend of mine, Dan, who goes on our cruises, he was in, this shocked me. He was in the Keys with his family, and they have a van, and it broke down, and AAA does not service the Florida Keys. I couldn't believe it. I was in shock. So I need to find out what areas they don't service. I thought they serviced everywhere. I did not realize they don't service the Florida Keys. So it had to cost him a lot of money. I'm just about to Starbucks, so when I get here, I will stop and take a quick look at the chat. Before I sign off. If you're new, my name is Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure that you subscribe. I'll be live on the radio in less than an hour. The stream's already up. It has President Trump in a MAGA hat on. 76% approval. And when I end the stream, you can hop over there. The chat room's open and active. And that's where I'll be live streaming, taking live calls in less than an hour. Take a quick look at the chat before I hop in the drive-thru here. 76%, that's right. Trump is an amazing man. He absolutely is. Absolutely. Trevor says, unless you name Trish. I'm nice to do. I give Joy when you hear me criticize her free publicity. How did Sean Hannity go from a painter to a famous news guy? That's a good question. I'd like to know the answer to that so I could be a famous news guy, at least more famous than I am. That's a very good question. Yeah, that's you guys added a lot. All right, guys, I'm going to take off, but I'll see you shortly. Okay, so make sure that you subscribe, and if you're already subscribed, please like the video and click the notification bell, all right?